Welcome to Data Biome channel. As part of Fabric series 2026, we are going to explore mutations today. Previously, we have understood what exactly is graph query language, its purpose, its history, and how can we fetch data with the help of graph query language, what problems it addresses, and how it is different from REST architecture. Let's understand further how we can create, update, and delete data with the help of graph query language. So today's agenda is what is mutations, supported sources for mutation in Fabric, how to create data for supported sources, requirements for updating and deleting data in supported sources. There are certain prerequisites which needs to be met, otherwise you won't be able to see, update and delete. How we can update data, and at the end we will see how to delete data. So this is my graph query 2 item which we have created before, and in this item this is a select query kind of thing, and we do with the help of query. And as we can see, if we give the column as property ID under the items block, we can get all the property ID. Now let's understand mutations. If you click on mutation for this item, you don't see any option. You can't write any mutation query. Nothing will come. Now, what is the reason? Pause for a moment and try to recall whatever I have taught you regarding the graph query language and see if you can find out the reason. Just a clue. UK Latings is a lake house and Cosmos DB test is a Cosmos DB item. So as lake house and Cosmos DB both provide support via SQL Analytics endpoint, you want to be able to mutate data as SQL Analytics endpoint read only. And it's quite logical because Cosmos DB and Lakehouse, both of them do not have a SQL based engine. But for warehouse item, SQL databases, of course, you can write mutation. So let's include first a warehouse. Click on get data. And we are going to select warehouse from production workspace. Click on that. Click on connect. And this time we are going to choose trip. Click on load. As soon we selected trip, we can see under mutations a create trip item got created. But the question arises, why just create trip and not update or delete? So if you have the right setup for any table in a SQL database or warehouse, you should see three options here: create trip, update trip, delete trip. And these are all types which we have already discussed before. And they will be part of even the schema. Now, why update and delete not coming? That we will address later. But initially, let's write a query to create a trip item. First of all, let's see the schema of trip. So in the trip schema, there are lots of fields we can see. But we need to only provide the data whenever the field is mandatory. Let's see the schema because we want to understand the data type. So it's trip. Select it and then give a Control F. And now we can find. Click on next and try to find where the schema of trip is defined. Let's scroll. Here we can see the trip schema. Now notice wherever we have this exclamation mark at the end of the data type, it means the field is mandatory. Otherwise, the field is optional. So how many fields are mandatory? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 fields we need to provide data. Now let's write a mutation query for this. Let me select this, click on query. And this time we will write mutation query. Again, syntax remains same how we write it, just that few things will be different. So we have creative. You need to select creative. As soon you select the creative, you need to provide the item. An item is nothing but what will be the structure you want to create. So we are going to create, so these are integer. Need to provide some integer value. Let's provide 999, 999, 999, and we will just omit 1 so that we can see if any error coming or not, because it's a mandatory field. And in this block, you need to provide a result. Why? Because that will tell you what exactly is the output of this query, whether it's successful or is there some error. You can see that. So there is an extra brackets which we need to remove. Okay. Now it's fine. Let's format it. Control A and right click format. Okay, there is still some mistake I can see. Field. See, it's clearly giving the error even though we have not submitted it. The reason is it has a schema and it validates the data with the help of this schema, which is self-describing also. So if we run it, obviously it will not gonna work. Drop of time ID is a required field and cannot be null. Let's add that field. So it's drop of time ID. And we will again say 999. Let's go to the warehouse because we need to see this item is not currently existing. So how can you go? The best option in Fabric is click on browse. And you can always do a search. You can see here, but in case there are many other items, you can always search and you can click and it will open the warehouse. Click on DBO, tables, and let's select the trip data. New select query, new SQL query, top 100. And there is no data. So that will be the first record. Go to GraphQL. So when you switch the tabs, it will redirect to the schema. That you need to remember. So you need to click on query. And if I run this time, it will work. And you get result as success. Creative result success. Otherwise, you will get any error in case of any issues. So we have created a data with the help of mutation this time. Let's go to warehouse and confirm. Click on run. And we can see the data has been populated. Other fields are null because we didn't provide the data. So this is about how we can create data using mutation. Now let's understand update and delete. Go back to GraphQL 2 item. And here Let's understand first why we are not getting update trip and delete trip. The reason is the corresponding table needs to have a primary key defined. And if that key is not defined, you won't see update and delete option. Let's just alter the table and add a key. Alter table, it's trip. So let's just select dbo.trip, add constraint, and we will say pk trip. You can give any name, but it makes sense if you add pk underscore for primary key constraint, for foreign key fk underscore, and so on. That makes things quite readable. Primary key, non-clustered, and now you need to provide the name of the column. So what is the column name? Let's say it's medallion ID. Not enforced. Yeah. Why we are adding not enforced? Because it's a distributed system, and in distributed system you cannot enforce the primary key due to performance reasons. So let's just run this query, and what it will do, it will add primary key constant for medallion ID in dbo.trip table. Click on run, and you should always choose the unique one whenever you are defining this primary key constant. So it has worked. And now a question arises, how can you check whether any primary key constant declare on a table or not? There are few options. We will go through two tables which we can use to identify. So click on information schema, views, and we can see key column usage. So you can select this one, and you can always do select star from and table name. So table underscore name equal to trips. Okay, let's just run it. Okay, where? We missed where. And let's run the select and run the query. So you can see there is no constant we find out because our table name is wrong. Trip. We got that. Another way is we can even write a query on table underscore constraints. So let's just write table underscore constraints, and let's run it. Primary key, constant name. So this is the way if you want to check. Fine. Now let's go back to the graph query language item. Now you won't see any changes here because there is no metadata refresh, I guess, happen right now. Whatever documentation I have gone through, I didn't find like it will be reflected. So what you can do, I will just remove this source from the schema. So there is an option remove from schema. Click on that, delete, and we will again add it. And this time, as we have declared the primary key constant, it should create 3 entries. Let's select it, the warehouse, click on connect, trip, and load. And great. Create trip, update trip, delete trip. Now we can update and delete data. So remember, in case you don't see option for update trip or delete trip, you should go to the warehouse or the source and try to identify whether any primary key constant defined or not. And then you can define a primary key constant and you can see update and delete option then. So let's write now queries for updating and deleting. We will use the same entry which we have just created. Now, how can we? So for Medellin ID, we will note down this ID. And what we are going to do, we are going to update the draw for time ID to 998 this time. Mutation, update trip. And this time you need to provide the Medellin ID because that's the key. We will say 999, delete this one. And now you need to provide the fields which you are going to update. So let's just update single field. What are the fields we have? Let's just update pickup time ID to 998 and this one again result. We can again select it and format. Great. So we are updating only one field, pickup time ID 998. Click on run. And it's a success for update trip. Go back to warehouse and just confirm the data has been updated. We will run again the query. This time there is no such query. So what we are going to do, we are just writing, let's just comment it. And let's write a select query. Never write select start query, but this time it's not a problem because it's a small table. And we can write okay, 998 has been updated. Again, you need to click on query. And this time, let me show you that whatever we have studied before, the query, parameters, everything will work as it is. So suppose I will say new pickup, and if I give 998, I can again use this as a variable. Let's just new pick up data type integer, and this time we will say great. So again it will work. Let's just update it again, not a problem. It's working fine. So all those things which you have studied before when fetching the data, they are more or less working, and you can again do anything in update whatever you want. Let's just understand how can we now delete the data. And we are going to delete this entry 999 only. So again mutation, let's select this time delete trip because we want delete 999 and this time it's again result. Sorry, it has selected both by mistake 999 and here you need to give result. Format it and run it and boom, it has worked. So we have seen how delete works. And it makes things so easy. You can think of some complex data. You can easily handle that data. But remember, for Lakehouse, Cosmos DB, or wherever we have SQL Analytics endpoint as the type, you cannot do mutation. And I can even show you. So click on Get Data, not this one, on GraphQL 2, and you can see testing lab in, SQL Analytics endpoint, Cosmos DB test, SQL Analytics endpoint, Iceberg Devo, because these are all lake houses or Cosmos DB, you will see SQL Analytics endpoint as a type, and mutation will not be supported this because SQL Analytics endpoints, they are always strictly read only. Great. So we have seen how can we create, update, and delete. If you find my content useful, give a like and subscribe, and we will come up with another video. Thank you so much for your time. Take care of your health.